There she goes. All right, and then let me share my screen. Doop, doop, doop. One, two. All right. Sorry, now it's being super weird, and the share screen tab has just wandered off on me. See, this is why there's extra time built into this presentation for exactly things like this.
I've got a share screen tab on mine.
I might send you this this
This
thing.
is weird.
It was literally just here. I literally tested it and was like, cool, that looks great. Where'd that tab go? Oh my god. Thank you all for suffering through my technical difficulties. I really do appreciate it. It's so weird. Where did you put this?
Are you on a Mac?
No. No, yeah, I'm on
Okay.
yeah.
Because I just noticed on mine there's like a shortcut, but I'm on a Mac. I don't know what it is on a Windows.
That's so weird. Oh my god. Where's this thing going? This is not the most embarrassing Zoom call I've run. It's a high contender. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Share this screen. Do it. All right, thank you for suffering through that. I really appreciate your time. We're gonna trim that out of the final video before I send that out to folks. I'll tell you that right now. All right, so this is meeting number 4. And so here's what we're gonna hit on while we're chatting today. We're going to give you guys a quick update on our reporting project thus far, especially for the last few months as we've gotten into the new year. We're going to talk about some community events that are coming up that we're pretty excited about, and the big ticket item, a possible documentary on our work in Dove Springs and just the housing issues that are being faced by the community. So here's what we've done so far. We've had 16 pieces of content that have gone up from January to this far into March for this year. 3 of them are our usual long form documentary pieces. 13 have been specifically for social media. So those have either been Instagram carousels that kind of let us like dive into some particular issues that we're not doing like a full documentary story about. Some of them have been cuts of our longer videos to kind of expand on different topics, or they're just specifically for social media and they let us kind of dive into some extra things. So, like a good example is we did a story recently on the challenges for housing voucher recipients. And we did a bonus video that we ran on social media that really dove into junk fees and how that can really complicate things for folks that are trying to find housing, especially if you're using a housing voucher. So to that end, also, we have restarted our Decibel Instagram account. We had one from a while back. We had kicked it off during the pandemic to see if it was better to just post under Austin PBS, and then we're like, this is kind of a weird mix to go from housing crisis to Elmo. That's a hard swing for a lot of folks, so let's just have our own dedicated space. So it is at Decibel ATX. We got a few things up already. You can see some fun behind the scenes stuff. All the extra posts we are doing are primarily being shared there first. Austin PBS is posting them later. And yeah, we're hoping that gives us a chance to kind of hit on more stories and more things that are impacting the community and also share more like kind of fun behind the scenes stuff. We posted a few photos from the Easter egg hunt that they had at the park last weekend, which is kind of just like a fun, like we're out here hanging out with folks moment. So stuff like that is there as well. Also, this is fun. We have awards. Yay! And a lot of that is because of you guys. So we had 2 pieces win some awards. We had One was an honorable mention in the National Press Photographer Association Awards, which that one, like, ooh, buddy, that's like big time. That's like you're against the New York Times and stuff like that. So we got an honorable mention for if why are there still doves in Dove Springs? So that's pretty cool. And then we had two pieces that are enter to win in the Texas Broadcast News Association. One was about the muralist that was working on the piece that commemorating the Onion Creek floods, and then the Doves story again. They judges like birds. I don't know why, but they seem to be into them this year, so that works for us. But I really like we can't emphasize enough that is because of like you guys and feedback and your commitment to this. This is a team effort for sure. Like this is not something that like I magically landed on by myself. Like this happens because you guys are there kind of telling us how we're doing and giving us direction. So thanks to you guys. These are your awards too. So hope y'all are proud. So this I'm pretty excited to talk about and happy to answer any questions you guys might have about it. So there is a big community event that's going to be going on May 4th at Mendez Middle School. Trustee Zapata is starting a community love hub. And her goal for this going forward is that it will be a community space where different organizations can host classes, outreach events, free programs for the community, and really just be like a place for folks to gather and, meet their neighbors. We're gonna be out there lending a hand. We're gonna be tabling. I think we're gonna be doing face painting. Not me personally. We hire someone that's good at it, but I think that's our plan. Um, and yeah, we're gonna be talking with parents about housing issues and stories that they would like us to work on, more information that they would like to see. So if you're interested in giving us a hand on day of, like, please feel free to send me an email and let me know. Also, if there's other organizations in the area that you are involved with or know of that would want to come out to the event, like the more the merrier. They want like as many groups as possible to come tag in. So if that's of interest, I'm happy to connect y'all with Trustee Zapata.
Do we have any idea on the time?
Yes, it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, I would volunteer, but I have a retreat with the commissioners that day.
Yeah.
So, but if that changes, I'll be available.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let you know. People keep you
I
posted.
should be able to volunteer, Blair.
Awesome. I appreciate that. No, I'm excited to have you come back out again. Yeah, I think we're gonna set up a couple of displays to like interact with the parents, but then also have some fun stuff for the kids there too. So that should be a good time. All right, so upcoming stories. Here's some of the things that we have coming up soon. First one is my profile on the city's anti-displacement navigators. That's actually going up next week. We've been chatting with the folks that were part of this pilot program. It's specifically designed for Colony Park and Dove Springs. They've hired 15 folks from the community to basically connect their neighbors with resources that keep them in their homes. So it's everything from rental assistance, mortgage payment assistance, to helping them find a job or helping them find a food bank in the area. Whatever they need that's going to keep them financially secure in their neighborhood, that's what they're connecting them with. So we have a nice profile on them and the work that they're doing. We're also talking to a realtor that's from Dove Springs. He grew up in the community and now he finds himself in this unique space where he's now helping his former like friends' parents sell their homes. And his big thing is that he's noticed a lot of families are kind of getting underbid on what their house is worth because people assume that they don't know enough about the housing market to get a good price. And so they're calling him and they're asking, is this fair? And he's like, no, no, you can ask for significantly more money than what you're getting. So his thing is really educating community members, like even if they can't stay or they don't want to stay, he wants to make sure they're at least getting the money that they're owed or should get for their home. So we have a nice profile on him that we're working on. We're also hoping to get some traction on this one soon. The city is potentially going to be trimming back on some rental assistance programs. They are fairly under budget at the moment, and in a meeting earlier this month, I think it was really this month. One of the things they're talking about is trimming back on some of these programs. So we're kind of waiting to see like how some of that shakes out. And then the last big one that we're getting preliminary stuff together on is there's been several stories about like rent and mortgage prices coming down in Austin because a lot of folks have started moving out of the area, but it's not dropping for everybody. And so we are talking with some folks that are not seeing their housing costs decrease, and they are the folks that generally need those prices to be lower more than anybody else. So how they're kind of weathering this storm while everybody else is kind of seeing, their bills decrease a little bit. There's a lot of community members that are still kind of fighting it a little bit. Before I move on to next stuff, any questions about any of those, or is there anything in particular you guys think that we're missing, or anything we should prioritize?
I mean, housing is one of the key issues in this area. And I know from my work on the contact team, there's a lot of developments that are potentially going to come to the neighborhood, but the question is that they still need to be, for affordable housing, it still needs to be lower than the 80% MFI. For this neighborhood, it needs to be closer to 50.
Mm-hmm.
So, some developers are willing to work with that, others are not, because they've got to make X amount of money to recoup their investment. So there's a couple of big ones coming that are going to be right by Mendez, right along close to Mendez. And there'll be some community engagement coming around that too. And I also know from my work on the commission, the Community Development Commission, that there was a lot of funding that rolled in from the federal level for housing displacement, but once that money's gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so El Buen Samaritano, you're familiar with El Buen?
Yeah,
They
that's one
were
of the groups yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
exactly. So I can't remember. It's called, the program is called something about I live here or you live here or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And so of course they have, thousands of applications more than what they can fund.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, but that's the big program right now that is helping keep people in their homes.
Yeah, I've got a contact info for the folks at El Buen, and I'm going to be reaching out to them. I'm hoping they can connect me with somebody that's on the rental assistance program
Okay.
and chat with those folks there. Yeah, but yeah, hoping to get in touch with those folks pretty soon. Yeah. Is there? I'm curious. With the development that's going in over by Mendez, is there a timeline for when they're going to start with stuff on that? I know that it's coming soon, but I hadn't heard specifically on dates.
Yes, there is, but I don't have my notes in front of me from the
Oh,
last
you're good.
meeting. But
I
Oh,
yes,
have
you're
there
good.
is
my
a time.
notes from this week's meeting, Blair, but
Yeah.
I'm looking through it right now and I don't know if that was like documented.
Oh, that's good. No
But
worries.
yeah, I'll glance through it and if there is, I'll let y'all know.
Sweet. Thank you. Anything else on these upcoming projects, or is there anything that y'all kind of feel like is missing, or anything we should be aware of?
Our Dove Springs Neighborhood Center should be open by fall too.
Oh,
And
nice.
that will have a full-time nurse. And so I don't know how familiar you are with any of the other neighborhood centers in the city, because they're all funded through bond money. They're through Austin Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a lot of community outreach in regards to, fresh food for families. There's also a program that they've partnered with Amazon, and there's criteria like you have to be, say, elderly, veteran, whatever, and you can actually get food delivered to your house through Amazon, shelf stable food. I think it's twice a month and that's free.
Oh, wow.
So once that neighborhood center gets up and running, it's going to be a huge benefit to our neighborhood. Huge
That's
benefit.
amazing. Where are they putting that in at?
It's on the other
It's right
side of the
next to the
rec
park.
center. right. So,
Oh, okay.
where you were in the park this weekend, right? You see
Yeah,
there's that
yeah.
grove of trees, it's right on the other side of it.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's what all the
Yes.
construction is.
You see
That's
like
what. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Okay, gotcha. That's good to know. I'll keep an eye on that for sure. Anything else before I move on to next slides? Alrighty, I'll keep her humming. So this is kind of our big fun thing that we can chat about a little bit. Uh, some of the folks here have noticed we got kind of a good chunk of stories all around housing, and we have like obviously a bunch more that we're working on for the next few months. So the suggestion was made like, oh, you could put all these together and we could air it on Austin PBS. And I was like, well, we do have that channel, so that is an option that we could do. So something that we're looking at is bundling these stories around housing into an hour, potentially hour and a half long documentary to kind of weave together the different stories on the challenges of housing in Dove Springs specifically, but how that's sort of like similar to like what people in other areas are also seeing as well. Um, so I was really curious to kind of hear y'all's initial thoughts on this. Are there certain topics or stories that we've done that you're like, definitely include that? We'd love to do community feedback screenings before we air it. Any thoughts on those? I'm also considering getting the content translated into Spanish. But yeah, that's sort of like it's still very early days on what this will be and how it'll be formed. If it comes together, it'll definitely probably be later in the year in the fall before it's ready to go. But yeah, initial thoughts, initial feedback, things to please not do any of it. I'll take any and all suggestions.
I think that's a really good idea.
Mm,
One story that kind of stuck out to me, I think, I feel like all of the stories that you've put out have been like relevant to the community, and most of them do have the theme of housing, which I think is very important to highlight, especially like recently. Uh, but I think the story that I really loved and I'd like to see it included is the one about, and I can't remember her name, but she
mm.
sold the pupusas and
Oh
she
yeah, Bertha. Yeah, yeah,
where's
yeah.
that? Yeah. And it showed I thought the footage was just like really beautifully shot.
Oh,
And I think especially I don't know if it was just because it was really hot, that whenever you're watching it, you're just like, I can feel like the sun beating down on
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought that was really like compelling, I think, to people who don't know anything about Dove Springs. And
Yeah.
I that might have even been like the first video that I watched.
I think that
Uh
was one of the first ones that we did was following her.
yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the very first ones for sure.
Yeah, that one was cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that her story hits on um something really interesting that like has come up with a couple of talking with different folks in that just the environmental aspect of stuff and just the fact that quite a few of the homes were built in the 70s and 80s and haven't all been necessarily been updated, so it's just harder to heat and cool places, and if you don't have the money to pay for that stuff, like that just gets harder, and then you're sort of dealing with the elements more and more. um Berta's amazing and I love her dearly, so I would love to have her story in there for sure. Any other thoughts on stuff?
I think having something at the rec center, or
Mm.
since the weather's nice, well, I don't know when this would come out, but maybe do you think it would be out by like the fall?
That's what I'm aiming for, yeah. It'd be like September, October maybe, depending on just how much I'm beating my head against the wall. But hopefully in the
Yeah.
fall.
It might be nice to, I don't know, maybe have like a projector and have people come out and watch the documentary.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'd love to have something where it's just people can swing by and make it like a fun community event, and yeah, like let people just sort of come and hang out and enjoy themselves.
Mhm.
Um, is something else that I was gonna something that we're I've been thinking about doing with it is there's so many different aspects to like challenges around housing. There's just straight up affordability, and then there's bills, and then there's like the repair aspect of it, and like all these very different things. So a framework we're considering, and I'd love y'all's feedback on this, is we have this group, which is the anti-displacement navigators that are literally fielding all of these variety of questions, all in the name of like keeping people in their homes. So we're thinking about sort of following them and using them as sort of like a framework to get into all these other sort of like somewhat disconnected stories, in that they're just kind of on disparate ends of like the housing crisis. So they're kind of like a nice little like central hub for like all these different things. Um, but yeah, would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that. If you're like, that's interesting, that sounds boring, that's also fine too. You can tell me. Any thoughts y'all have on that?
I think that sounds interesting to me. Because it would cover like the whole gamut of issues, right? Like that you can tie back to uh like the housing shortage or like whatever theme you want to explore. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too. It sort of ties it together.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think they're the nice thing too, and y'all may already know this, so if I'm repeating stuff, I apologize. But the navigators, like all of them are from the communities that they're working in. So all of the Colony Park folks are from Colony Park, and all of the Dove Springs folks are from Dove Springs, and quite a few of them, like their families are still here, like 2 to 3 generations back, are still living in Dove Springs. So they have like very long views on what's been going on in the community, which is very interesting. So I think that they give us a nice like way to kind of dive into a lot of different stuff, which is really cool. Any other thoughts on anything? Any other just initial reactions? Particular topics that like we should definitely try to include when we're thinking about like sharing the stories about housing in Dove Springs, that we don't already have on our radar.
There's one story that I recall, it was a recent one, and it was about a woman who works, is it at Mendez? It was one of the schools around here.
Oh
And
yeah,
her
yeah.
job is
Palm.
to,
Was she the one at Palm?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, Palm. And her
The
job is
resource.
to help
Mm-hmm.
the families, I guess, like stay in the community so that they can attend school there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I think there's
The
a lot
parent
of,
support specialist.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. There are a lot of families with small children in this community, so I think like highlighting, like tying it back to how this impacts, not just like individuals in the community, but like the children in this community,
Yeah.
especially. I think that would uh, be compelling, you know, and something that like a lot of people in this neighborhood can relate to. Like, say,
Yeah.
say, there's like a family who's, you know, financially comfortable and they own their home here and they have kids, and the kid happens to go to Palm Elementary, you know. It's like as a
Mm-hmm.
parent, you could drop your child off there, your child could attend school there, but they're not privy to the fact that there even is like someone like that woman doing that position, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think you could like draw in more viewers that way too, just to for the content to be more engaging to people who don't necessarily uh like fall within the people experiencing the housing issues.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Yeah. I love that. I think that's a really, yeah, that's a really good idea. All right, very cool. Anything else spring into mind for folks? This might actually be the last slide. We'll find out. It's like a fun surprise. It is the last slide. Look at that. Any questions for anybody about any of this stuff, future projects, community outreach events, anything that we're doing? I'm happy to field answers or try to field answers.
I've got one question. So how
Yeah.
long will Decibel be focusing on Dove Springs? Because I think, has it been almost a year now?
We're closing it. Technically, a year would be. I'm counting it from August because that's when our first story went up. So yeah. So initially, like the rough timeline has always been a year for staying in a community. I think we're going to stay a little bit longer. I'm pushing for us to stay a little bit longer. There's just so much stuff that I feel like every time we start on something, there's like, oh, well, there's also this. Oh, here's also this story. So we have so many things like I still want us to cover. Plus doing the documentary, which we would probably scale back a little bit on doing new stories at that time, just to kind of like focus in on getting that polished and looking really good. But I think I my ballpark guess is that we would be staying through the end of this year. But we'll kind of like get that probably further together like later into the summer. But yeah, it has we're closing in on a year, which is kind of wild to think. But I think we're gonna hang out for a little bit and bug y'all a little bit longer if that's okay. So
Yeah, I mean, I love doing this. That's why I was wondering, because I'll be sad when it's over.
oh no, we're gonna be sad to like yeah for it to be over too. I feel like that's a little bit why I'm extending it. I'm like this will be fun. Let's just hang out.
Yeah. If you do the documentary, do you think that you'll get to conduct interviews with like city officials and like people who represent Dove Springs?
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit about that, and I haven't landed on an answer for it yet. And it is a good question. Um, we definitely can, and there that might be a good place to ask them sort of like what are their plans for keeping people in their community and making sure that it's affordable. Um, the tricky thing for it too, like this is something we talked about a lot, is that like everyone will interview city officials for like breaking news things or whenever they hold a press conference. And something that we really love is that we spend more time with like the folks that are like dealing with stuff and are impacted by things. And so like this is kind of a good space to kind of go and ask those questions like you guys are making the plan, what is the plan? Um, but yeah, we haven't landed on if we want to do that for this one or if we just want to like stick with folks in the community that are doing the day-to-day stuff. So TBD. We will we will figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, it's something we've definitely like it's a good space to ask them some questions for sure. So yeah, we will see.
Okay.
Well, at the very least, even if you didn't want to do like Councilwoman Fuentes, but you could even do like, Ricardo from Dove Springs Proud or Constable
Mm-hmm.
Morales from the, rec center. I mean, he's the constable, but anyways,
Mm-hmm.
because they have more, to me, they have more connections and more boots on the ground type access to people. And they're very well, they have a lot of influence in this community.
For sure. Yeah. And that's something I kind of want to reach out to Constable Morales as well, because I know that they have the advisory board that I think they meet at the rec center. So once we kind of get stuff together, I'm thinking about asking them if they would like to sit in on an early screening and kind of get initial feedback
Mhm.
from them because they know the community, like you said, really well, are very well connected to it. And just kind of get their feedback on stuff as we're going along. But that yeah, we'll see if we're ready to cross that bridge once we get to it.
Well, and I also was told earlier this month at the contact team meeting that River City Youth Foundation is moving.
Oh,
Um,
really?
are you familiar? Yeah. And so, and the reason that I found out is that there's a developer going to take over that site. And so we
Oh,
were like, so where's River City going? And I mean, it was a she, I believe. She didn't have any details and she couldn't even tell us if they were going to stay open. But she said that Mona Gonzalez, who also has a lot of influence in this community, is
Yeah.
okay with it. So she might be another one to reach out to. Do you know Mona?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I met her in person. I've talked to her a bit, just phone calls and stuff, but I met her at their Christmas
Oh, the
event.
Posada?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Minnie and I were out there
Yeah.
volunteering and I got to chat with her for a little bit, but wow, that's I
So
had
I'm
not
not
heard that they
sure.
were moving. Ooh.
Well, we're not sure if they're moving or they closing. I mean, we don't know.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna
But
check into that because whoo.
yeah, so you might want to check onto that too.
Yeah, oh my gosh, absolutely. Um Man, that's wild.
It would be sad to see that Christmas posada end.
I know.
Well,
That was so fun.
hopefully, I mean, hopefully they're just being moved, but the
Yeah.
question is where. There's such
Yeah.
limited resources now. So, and that's a pretty big parcel of land, which is
Yeah.
of course why
Right.
the developer wants it. And so they're going to put in townhomes, I think, but they're to own, townhomes to own, not rent.
Oh, gotcha. Ooh, yeah, I'm checking on that because, ooh, man, that's wild. Yeah, I'll check that. That's a story we'll definitely want to do. Uh,
Yeah.
ooh,
I don't know Mona personally. I mean, my kids used to go there when
mm,
they were young. They're all in their 30s now, so I haven't been involved, but um, it was quite a shock to the contact team. Let's put it that way.
I'm sure. When is speaking of, when is the next meeting for the content? I know it's like the second, so the
It's
second
always the
Tuesday?
second, right? The second Monday. It's always the second
Second
Monday. But
Monday.
this week or this month for April, it will be the eclipse. So we're
Oh.
meeting this Monday, April Fools. So it's not. It's no April
Oh,
Fools. We're
okay.
meeting Monday at 6:30 at the library.
Gotcha.
Well,
Okay.
because we know with the eclipse, I mean, we don't have a lot of people that show up anyways, but um, we're trying to maximize what we do get. Minnie, you
For
should
sure.
come. You might enjoy it. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, I think I can make it. I'm gonna be coming back from Fort Worth that day, so hopefully I'll be able to.
Well, it's always over by 8 o'clock because we get kicked out of the library. So that's one good thing about it.
Yeah, I've been I got off track because there was like a couple of months where it was just, schedule conflicts, and then it was
Hmm.
like, wait, is it the first or the second Monday? And I was like,
Well, yeah, I mean, you're correct. Normally, it is the second Monday of
okay.
the month, but because of the eclipse, we moved it.
No, that makes sense. That's a good
That's a good
plan.
idea.
Hmm.
That's gonna
So
get
that's when the developers come and tell us what they're trying to do in the neighborhood, and we can't say yay or nay. It still has to go to zoning and planning, but we can at least advise, okay, we're in support of this if you can do this. And so it's been a real eye opener,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
going to these meetings.
they're very interesting to sit in on for sure. Like
Very.
there's yeah, I think the last one that I was at, or one of the last ones I was at, they were talking about the new tank farms going in and
Yes,
like
yes.
the plans for that. And that, yeah, so that was very interesting to, sit in on that and hear what they had to say.
Well, and the other companion to that is the company that owns all these tank farms. The holding tanks are in Bastrop. This is all for jet fuel, and
Mm-hmm.
apparently Austin is one of the last airports of its size in the country that still brings the jet fuel in by truck. So there's
Mm.
hundreds of trips every day between Cedar Creek and Austin bringing jet fuel. So sometimes you could be sitting on the runway and it's because the truck is held up in traffic and can't get the jet fuel. So
Oh,
the company, I can't remember the name of it, but they are going to put in a pipeline. I mean, it's about time, right? And so they're
yeah.
working with TxDOT to get the right of way, and it'll cut down on the traffic, the congestion, the fumes, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean the jet fuel is already piped from Corpus to Cedar Creek. I mean,
Yeah.
there's lines going the whole way to DFW, so it doesn't make sense that Austin is still coming by truck.
That's wild. I just assumed that there was like, yeah, there was a pipeline, but wow, that's interesting. I did not
So
know
it's a
that.
private company. It'll be at no taxpayer dollars will be involved. It's their investment. I just can't remember the name of the company. But anyways, I've learned so much just from going to this group for the last few years, just in terms of what's happening in my neighborhood. And I've lived here 37 years, 38 years now.
That's wild. All right, well, cool. Yeah, well, hopefully I'll see you guys next Monday. It'll be like this, but like part two at the library, so it'll be great. Any other questions or anything? If we can, this kind of hit on the big stuff that I wanted to chat with y'all about, but yeah, is there anything else y'all have for me? Any questions that I can answer? All right. Well, as per usual, I'll throw up my contact info really fast if that's helpful at all. It is there. And always happy to, if you think of something later, have any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, I'm always all ears, or I'll just see you next Monday. That's also, that also
That's
works
an
too.
option.
That's an option. Exactly. We can just do that. It'll be great. Well, and look at us. I'm giving you guys a solid 40 minutes back of your evening, which I'm always glad to, if I can do anything, if I can give you back a little time, that's always good too. So, all right. Well, thank y'all so much for your time this evening, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Blair.
you.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye-bye.